Prakash Dilek. Due to COVID-19 restrictions in Himachal Pradesh, we were unable to air our programs on time. Today, with some relaxations, we are back to our programs. In today's edition of Introducing Tibet Support Group, we will discuss Super Sangha based in Japan. Super Sangha is an association supporting Tibet. So we will discuss more about the association with its Vice President, Venerable Kobayashi Sheui. Welcome to Tibettv, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, first of all, I would like to ask you about your organization. So, when and how did your organization come into existence?
Well, in 2008, Nagano Zenkoji Temple refused to be the starting point of Beijing Olympic torch relay in Japan. It gave an impact to the world. A lot of Chinese students studying in Japan were collected to protect their torch relay. At the same time, a lot of Tibetan supporters came to Nagano City to protest against the Chinese Olympic Games. And both sides had rallies in the central areas of Nagano City and clashed with each other. Big police force was mobilized from all over Japan. Nagano City was fully covered by Chinese red flags and Chinese people. Even then, Zenkoji Temple stood straight up in the ocean of red flags. And Tibetan people and Tibetan supporters were protected by Zenkoji Temple. A few Japanese and one Tibetan were arrested, even though Chinese people were more rough, but none of them were arrested. The only Tibetan who was arrested was Tashi Tserin from Taiwan. The night before the torch relay, I gave him a bed at a monastery where I studied Buddhism long time ago. And the next day, he was arrested. I was so shocked. But I and Tibetan supporters helped him, and he could come out from the police detention center in 23 days. He went back to Taiwan after that. In those days, Super Sangha was established by about 100 Japanese Buddhist priests and Buddhist followers. Now we have about 300 members in Super Sangha now.
Since your organization has about 300 supporters and members, so I'm sure your organization is carrying out lots of activities for the cause of Tibet. So what are the major activities and how successful have they been so far, sir?
So far, well, when His Holiness Dalai Lama comes to Japan, we always have a religious ceremony for the world peace. And on March 10th, we have a peace march for Tibetan cause with Tibetan community in Japan and students for Free Tibet, Japan. And we have also Tibetan Buddhism classes at the temples of the Super Sangha members. And we also issue newsletter every 3 or 4 months and let Japanese people know Tibetan cause and the real situation in Tibet. This is the newest newsletter. And we also support financially the activities of Tibetan communities in Japan and some Tibetan monasteries in India. And we have also a website to inform Tibetan issues. Those are our activities.
Okay, sir. Nowadays, it is very much evident that whosoever supports the cause of Tibet gets pressure from Chinese government. So, when you work for the cause of Tibet, I'm sure your association also gets pressure from Chinese government. So, when you get pressure from Chinese government, how do you manage to tackle it?
Well, we don't have so much pressure from Chinese Communist Party because members of the Super Sangha are very determined to support Tibet. So, if we get pressure from Chinese Communist Party, we will not change our attitudes towards Tibet. I personally sometimes get emails containing computer virus. That's all. Yeah.
Sir, Japanese Parliamentary Group for Tibet is the largest and the very active, right, sir? So, how does your organization work in collaboration with Japanese Parliamentary Group for Tibet in order to have your government formulate policies like U.S. Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020?
Well, at the moment, Super Sangha and the Japanese Parliamentary Group for Tibet share information on Tibet, and we have also collaborated with East Turkestan parliamentary groups and South Mongolian parliamentary groups. Those groups also have their own parliamentary groups. So now it's the time to cooperate together. Yeah.
Sir, as you are aware that Tibetans are seeking genuine autonomy from Chinese government based on middle way approach. So my question is, how important do you think is the role of middle way approach for the Tibetan cause, and what is your government's stand on middle way approach?
Mm-hmm. Well, because of the non-violence of the middle way approach, the world is happy to help the Tibetan people and the Central Tibetan administration. So I think it's good to pursue the middle way approach to attain your purpose to get freedom in Tibet. Some people say that middle way approach is weak and don't work well for Tibetan people inside Tibet. But I think it will work well because Japanese people had a similar kind of good example in Japanese history. In the World War II, we call it the Greater East Asia War in Japan. Japanese Emperor Hirohito declared war against the US, Britain, and the Netherlands, Australia, and China. The purpose of the war was clearly announced in the Japanese government statement. It was to liberate Asian countries occupied by them. And at the end, the purpose was achieved. Asian countries were liberated and got independent. But at the end of the war, US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the big cities, Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, all of them were bombed. And about 500,000 civilians were killed. Those attacks were genocide and war crimes. But Emperor Hirohito ordered Japanese army to lay down their arms. It's my opinion that to lay down arms against genocide and war crimes is the middle way approach the Emperor Hirohito chose. Thanks to the Emperor Hirohito, Japan got recovered and has got richer than before the World War II. It can be said that Japanese people have overcome the genocides and cruel war crimes through the middle way approach of Emperor Hirohito. So I'm sure if you follow the middle way of His Holiness Dalai Lama, you will surely attain your goal.
Okay, sir, before we end our discussion, I would like to ask you a very important question. As you know that the world is facing lots of challenges, both mentally and materially. So, sir, to tackle these challenges, how relevant do you think is the message of His Holiness on love, peace, and compassion?
Mhm. Well, love, peace, and compassion are the most important virtues for the human being. The members of the Super Sangha believe in teachings of Buddha and follow his teachings. So I think Tibet, Japan, and other Buddhist countries can cooperate and lead the world peace together. We wish and pray that the middle way approach will be able to change the mind and thoughts of the Chinese Communist Party and people.
Okay, sir, with this, we're going to end our discussion here. I would like to thank you so much for sharing how your association came into existence, and you have also shed lights on how your association is carrying out activities for the cause of Tibet, and you have also told us how your association is supporting middle way approach for the cause of Tibet. So I'm very much thankful for your time with Tibettv. Thank you so much, sir.
Let us all. Thank you.